Hello students and welcome to QUARRIES classes. My name is Ashmita and in today's class we are going to talk about how students can apply to educational institutes abroad in foreign countries. There are a huge number of frequently asked questions by the candidates who want to settle abroad and study there and finally settle down there. So what are these questions? First of all, the very frequently asked question is, why should we study abroad? There are many reasons why studying abroad programs are becoming so popular. Like for most international students, the appeal is likely to be a combination of gaining a high quality education, experiencing immersion in a new culture, and often gaining a second language, and also gaining a global mindset and expanding the future employment prospects. For some, the prospect of leaving their home and heading off into the unknown is daunting. But studying abroad is also an exciting challenge that often leads to improved career opportunities and a broader understanding of the way the world works. The type of experience you have during your time abroad will vary hugely depending on where you go. So make sure to pick a study destination which is based on your personal interests as well as the country's academic reputation. In order to keep a healthy work and a play balance, try to focus on a place where you have something in common at least. Another question that arises in the student's mind is, where in the world should I study? So choosing where in the world you wish to study is not always an easy task because you have so many options when you Google up. As well as your own personal interests, you should think about practicalities such as the costs of studying in that country, like both tuition costs as well as the living costs. Your graduate career prospects, is there a good job market there, and also your overall safety and welfare. Now you should also think about what sort of lifestyle you wish to have during your studies. Do you want to live in a big city or a small university town? Do you want arts and culture on your doorstep or world-class sporting facilities? Whatever your interests are, be sure to match them up with your study destination so that you really give yourself the best chance of loving your international experience. Another question that arises in your mind is, how do I get started? Once you have made up your mind about where you want to study, you should start to think about choosing a program and a university. If you haven't already, then you can research the leading universities with the QS World University Rankings and also use the subject rankings to discover the universities which are best for you. You can also consult the national rankings of universities in your chosen destination. You'll then want to look closely at the courses which are offered by the institutions on your shortlist, as well as researching the local area and lifestyle, admission requirements, and also the costs. Once you have firmly decided on your program and institution, you should start to think about your application. Like the application processes differ depending on the university and the countries. But generally, each institution will provide the full details of how to submit your application on the official website, so do follow them. In some cases, there is a two-step application process for international students. This means you must submit two applications, one for a place at the university and another for a place on the course itself. Now, this should be clearly stated on the university's website that how many applications you have to make. If you still have questions about the process, you should contact your chosen university directly. If you think you might need a student visa, remember that in most cases you won't be able to apply for one until you have received a letter of acceptance from your chosen university. Each stage can take several months, so allow as much time as possible. How long do study abroad programs take? This is another question that commonly comes to your mind. The length of time you spend studying abroad will depend on the program and the level of degree you are undertaking. Generally, an undergraduate degree will take 3 to 4 years of full-time study. For example, in the UK, the typical length for most of these subjects is 3 years. While in the US, the norm is 4 years, while a graduate degree such as a master's degree or equivalent will take 1 to 2 years. A doctoral or a PhD degree program will usually take 3 to 4 years. At many universities across the world, there is also the option of studying abroad for a shorter period of time. Student exchange programs allow you to study abroad for a year, a semester, or even just a few weeks. So information about these shorter programs should be available on the website of the main university you plan to enroll at. Another question that arises in your mind is, when can I start applying for the study abroad programs? Now, considering your application as early as possible is the best way to go. After all, the sooner you gain acceptance into a university, the sooner you can arrange your travels. To avoid disappointment, note down all the relevant application deadlines which is set out by your chosen university in huge letters on your calendar. Application deadlines will be different depending on the school, but for programs starting in the fall, that is in either September or in October, applications will generally be open from early in the year, that's from around January or February until the middle of the year, that is till June or July. Another question which commonly arises in your mind is, what are the entry requirements for study abroad programs? Now, entry requirements vary widely between universities and also between countries, so be sure to check the information provided by your prospective university before submitting anything. Speaking generally, however, if you are applying for an undergraduate degree, you will be asked to show that you have completed your secondary education to a standard that is in line with the required grades, like for the programs that you are applying to. If you have an international qualification and are unsure whether this is accepted, you should contact the admissions department of the university. For non-native English speakers wanting to study in English-speaking countries, it is also highly likely that you will need to provide proof of your English language proficiency by taking an English language test such as a TOEFL or an IELTS. So similar tests may be required for those studying in other languages also. Another thing which arises in your mind is, what documentation should I submit with my application? Now, you may be asked to provide some supporting documentation as part of your applications. So once again, requirements vary depending on the country and university. But international students are often asked to provide a list of items which I'm going to mention now. Passport, photos for identification. Number 2 is a statement of purpose. Number 3 is your CV or resume. Number 4 is your academic reference or your letters of recommendation. Number 5 is your certificate and transcripts of your secondary education. Number 6 is the proof of English language proficiency. That is, whether you have given a TOEFL or an IELTS exam, you have that certificate, especially for the schools in English-speaking countries or any other language test that you might have given. And the last thing that you should be providing is your admission test results, like for example, GMAT or GRE results for graduate programs if you're applying. Another question that arises in your mind is, do I have to speak a second language to study abroad? Now, this depends on the country you wish to study in and the language your course will be taught in. So if you are not a native English speaker but wish to study a course taught in English, you will have to prove you can speak the language to a fairly high level by providing English language test results. Now, this is to ensure that you will be able to follow your course without any comprehension problems. Now, English is also used as a language of instruction in a number of other countries worldwide, particularly for graduate programs and business degrees. So, English taught courses will be advertised on the university's website and can sometimes be searched for using a centralized database which is run by a national agency. Common tests which are accepted as proof of English proficiency include the TOEFL, the IELTS, as I've already mentioned. Now, if you need to prove your proficiency in a language other than English, there are also similar tests in those. For other languages, you have tests like the DELF or the DALF, and you also have this TCF and DAB for French, or the TSF and Test DAF for German. So any test, any language, you have to give these kind of admission tests to prove it. So before taking a language test, make sure you confirm which results are accepted by your chosen school to make sure you don't waste your money on the wrong test. Another question that arises in your mind is, will I need to attend an admissions interview? As a prospective international student, it is relatively unlikely for schools to expect you to attend an admissions interview in person, although this is not unheard of, especially for the most competitive programs. Some universities hold international interviews in various locations around the world, so you may be expected to attend one of these. So there is also a growing trend of using video interviewing. This is like any other interview, with a pre-arranged time and date, but will take place online via an application such as Skype. And a question that is quite commonly asked is, after gaining a letter of acceptance, what do I do next? Congratulations, you are in, obviously, after receiving a letter of acceptance. So now all that you have to do is, you're left to do is to prepare for your studies. Pack up your life into a single or large suitcase, get your travel documents in order, and apply for your student visa. Research your accommodation options and look for funding. Don't panic, it will all be worth it. In fact, as soon as you gain acceptance from a university, the first thing you should start is to consider your travel documentation. Ensure you have a valid passport and a travel insurance, as well as a student visa if you need one. Make sure you have sufficient time to get your passport or your visa approved so that you will be able to travel legally. Now, for more information on what documentation you will need to travel, you should visit the government website of your chosen country to find information for travelers, visitors, and international students. Like example, gov.uk is the official website for UK travel information. Now, all the travel information you need would be listed on their particular official website, so do follow them. Alternatively, you can also ask your university for guidance. Often, admissions departments will help you to prepare for your travels, and in some countries, they even apply for the student visa on your behalf. So make sure you check with your university. However, don't assume someone else is going to sort everything out for you. Another question which is very common while applying for abroad programs is, do I need to apply for a student visa? Student visas are a big question for those who want to know how to study abroad, though not all international students will need one. If you are an EU citizen planning to study in another EU country, for instance, you don't need a visa. However, as a rule of thumb, if you come from outside of your chosen country's geographical region or continent, then you will probably need to apply for a student visa. This usually only applies to longer periods of international study. If you are participating in a shorter exchange that lasts 3 months or less, a tourist or a visitor visa may suffice. Now, how much does it cost to study abroad? This is the most important question that people ask, and to work out the cost of studying abroad, you need to consider the average tuition fees for international students in your chosen country, as well as the cost of living. As a point of reference, the average tuition fees for international students studying in the UK start at £10,000 a year, with an additional £12,180 per year needed to cover the living costs. In the US, the average yearly tuition fee is around $25,620 at public universities, and it's $34,740 at private universities, with an additional recommended budget of at least $10,800 to cover your living costs. With these yearly figures in mind, remember that undergraduate programs in the US tend to last a full 4 years. Although in some countries there are no tuition fees at all. Another question that comes to your mind is, can I get any financial help to study abroad, any financial aid? Although many international students may find it difficult to get a student loan to fund their studies, there are a myriad of other funding opportunities available to make studying abroad more affordable, like including scholarships, fellowships, studentships, sponsorships, grants, and bursaries. Your chosen university is perhaps the best place to get funding information relevant to you, so make sure you scour the school's website for advice or contact the school directly. This is also where information about the study abroad scholarships offered by the university and other external organizations can be found. You will also get the details regarding the eligibility and how to apply. Many scholarships are granted based on academic merit and are highly competitive. There are lots of funding schemes targeting specific groups of students, such as students from developing countries and women studying like the male-dominated subjects. So there are varied schemes. Another question that commonly comes to your mind is, where can I find study abroad scholarships? Like, study abroad scholarships can be found in many places. Like, your first port of call will be the website of your chosen university, where you will find informational available scholarships. Sometimes the university will also list the external scholarships, such as those offered by the government or business partners of the school. If not, you should research governmental schemes in your home country and your country of study, as well as funding offered by external organizations relating to your field of study. Another question that frequently comes to your mind is, where will I live during my study abroad program? If your chosen university has readily available campus accommodation, it is likely that you will be able to apply for a place in these student halls. If this is not the case, you will need to find your own accommodation. If money is no object, you can consider renting your own flat, while those on a smaller budget can find shared accommodation with other students or use spare room listings, which are found online. In all cases, you should make sure you do your research before signing in anything or handing over any money. Your university's student support team and student union should also offer advice on how to find accommodation locally. Another very important question that comes to your mind is, can I work during my studies abroad? Now, this will depend on whether or not your student visa allows you to work. In some countries, there are restrictions on the amount of paid work you can undertake during your studies. Often there is a limit of 20 hours paid work per week during the term time, with full-time work permitted during holidays. If you don't need a student visa, it is more likely you will be able to work as many hours as you like, as long as it doesn't affect your studies. But check with the university and or with the official government site. If you do work during your studies, it's not a good idea to rely on your wages to fund living costs. And in many cases, you will need to prove you already have enough money to support yourself when you apply for your visa. So that was the entire discussion for today's class, and that was the a list of frequently asked questions from the candidates who are trying to apply abroad. So if you have any more questions, do feel free to text us in the comments below, and if you want to join our classes, then you can definitely do it through the description box, where our contact numbers, our website details, and all information is shared. Do contact us and enroll yourself for all the competitive examinations preparation. We here provide you with live classes, then portal access is there, recorded lectures portal access, then scholarships, mock tests, previous year's question papers are solved, and also we provide you with mock test facilities and sample paper solving. Study materials are provided. So in order to enroll yourself, you can just go over to the official website of our classes and do fill up the enrollment form and pay the fees and just get enrolled. But you can also call us and enroll yourselves for the course that you want to prepare for. So that was all for today's class. We are going to meet once again in our other classes.